It is May, the miraculous month of the supposed frost-free date. I say supposed because my supposed frost-free date here in Zone 6A, Ohio is May 4th. It is now May 12th as of filming this, and they're calling for another chance of frost tonight, which is why I never plant any of my warm season crops out till May 15th. But I digress. Today I wanted to share with you the things that I am sowing from seed, outdoors and indoors, as well as a few things that I'm transplanting out into the garden during the month of May. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that most of the crops I'm going to mention today are warm season crops, and they cannot go outdoors until danger of frost has passed. Now, that is going to vary depending on your very specific gardening location. So you can look up frost-free dates using your zip code very easily on sites like farmersalmanac.com. Most years that frost-free date is pretty accurate, but like I said, that's usually why I give myself about a 2-week buffer after what they're claiming that frost-free date is, just to be extra safe. But without further ado, let's take a look at what is being planted in the garden during the month of May. Now, one of the big vegetable classes that I focus on planting in May, after the soil has warmed and after danger of frost has passed, are beans. So that is going to include almost all the beans, things like bush beans and shell beans, runner beans, pole beans, and then things like southern peas or cowpeas planted both as a vegetable crop and as a cover crop. Likewise, all of the corn, so your sweet corn, your dent or flower corn, ornamental corn, and popcorn can be planted during the same time period. I also like to focus on planting those annual flowers that are easier to direct sow than they are to transplant. So for me, that is things like morning glories and nasturtiums and cosmos, lots of those lovely wildflower mixtures, and things like nigella or love in a mist, things I can just kind of scatter on the soil and they grow. And then some years, depending on the weather, if it's staying nice and cool like it is this year, I will do a late direct sowing of some of my lettuces, chards, collards, and then things like beets and radishes and carrots. Now, if you saw the prior months, you know that I'm planting a lot of those things in March and April as well. But as I mentioned in those videos, I do like to do succession sowings so that I'm achieving kind of a continual harvest on those crops. Now, during May, there is a whole group of vegetables that I will either direct sow or start indoors, depending on kind of how I'm doing on time and how soon I think I'll be able to get into the garden. So all of these vegetables and flowers I have grown both from direct sowing and from transplants, and have done really well either way. In a year like this, where it's getting fairly late and the soil's not super warm yet and the soil's very wet, and I know I won't be planting for probably another couple of weeks, I'm just starting a lot of this indoors to get a jump on it. In a year where the month of May comes in and it's really warm already at the beginning of the month, sometimes I'll just direct sow these crops so that I'm skipping that whole step of starting indoors. And again, with most of these, you do not want to be planting these out until that soil is warmed and your danger of frost has passed, because many of these are very, very cold tender. So this is going to include things like okra, pumpkins, squash, both winter squash and summer squash, and zucchini, all of the melons, so watermelons, cantaloupes, honeydew, gallia, kind of anything in that melon class, cucumbers, and gourds. Flowers and herbs include things like castor beans, marigolds, zinnias, and sunflowers. And of course, basil. And then a few vegetable crops I am transplanting. In the beginning of the month, I might do things like a late sown cabbage or heat-tolerant lettuce transplant. In about the middle of the month, I will typically transplant out my Brussels sprouts. And then after that frost-free date, I am putting out all the tomatoes, my tomatillos, peppers, eggplant, sweet potatoes, and peanuts. So that pretty much covers everything that I am planting this month. And I'd love to hear from you. What are you planting in your garden during the month of May? And be sure to subscribe to catch next month's episode of what I'm planting in the garden during June. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.